In modern JavaScript, there is this idea of an arrow function. And really what this is a special type of function. This is relatively new, and it's a little bit different from the other types of functions that we've learned about in this course. So just as a quick little recap, a regular function has the keyword function, and then some name, and then either no parameters or one parameter or multiple parameters, and then it return something. It returns a thing. There's also anonymous functions, so you can put that into like a variable name. So like const Caleb is equal to function, do some stuff, return Caleb. And then we can always wrap these in an IIFE, an immediately invoked function. So this is going to run automatically, and we can do the same thing here. So that is a quick recap on what we've learned about functions already. Now in JavaScript, whenever you write a function, just like when you have an object, you have access to the this keyword. Same thing with a new class and a method inside of it. So you've got basically a func name here. You have access to this. Same thing in an object. So const person is equal to func name here, function name here, and you have access to this. And what this really means is it's referring to this function. This means this class. This means this object. So whatever is defining it, that is what the this keyword means. When we start talking about arrow functions, that doesn't exist anymore. So when we use an arrow function, the big difference between an arrow function and a regular function is, other than the syntax looking different, it also does not have this dot whatever name or this dot whatever name function. It doesn't have that. This is not bound. Now the nice thing about that in an arrow function is if that is not bound to your function or the defining object, that means faster JavaScript. If you don't have to constantly reassign variables or store things in memory, then your computer can actually run faster. Now it's not noticeably faster for a human, but if you have 10 million lines of JavaScript, yeah, it might get a little bit faster, or quite a bit faster, depending on the logic that you're writing. So let's take a look at a regular arrow function here. So let's just say greet, let's make that a little bigger, is equal to opening and closing parentheses. So we've got our brackets there. Fat arrow, this is why we call it an arrow function. And then braces. And we could just say, hello world. And to execute this, we could just do greet with parentheses. Let's go ahead, load this up in our browser. I'm using Firefox. I hit refresh and it does nothing. But let's go ahead and run it in here anyways. And it's going to say greet. The reason it does nothing is because it's returning something. So if we said const hi is equal to greet, refresh our page, say hi, and it also says hello world. So it's just like a regular function. It just looks a little different at this point. So this is saying this is your function name is equal to an arrow function. So there is no this keyword. That does not exist. In here, this dot whatever does not exist. And it's just going to execute this. Now, what if you wanted a parameter in here? Well, if you wanted a parameter in here, you could say something like the name, hello, and then let's go ahead and use a template literal. So backticks, hello, name, and console.log, hi. Refresh our page, and it says, oh, it's undefined. Well, it's because we didn't put a name in there. So let's go ahead and put my name, Caleb. Hello, Caleb. Hello, Zephyr, and so on, and so on, and so on. We could also put another parameter in here called a place. So welcome to, and then place. And they don't have to be name or place. They could be anything you want. We're going to put a place in here of Atlantis. A place where my cat Zephyr would absolutely hate to be because it is watery. But it says, hello, Zephyr, welcome to Atlantis. And so this is how we would write an arrow function. Now let's actually undo that last example here. And let's go ahead and just get rid of these brackets. If there's only one parameter in here, we don't need brackets. It's only if we have two or more parameters that we actually need these parentheses in here. We only have the one. So we're going to say the function greet has one parameter called name, and then it's going to execute whatever is inside these curly braces. And so we can go ahead and get rid of that. And let's change this to Henry. And this will just say, hello, Henry. Now we can actually get even more slim with this. We don't actually need this in here. If what you're doing is just returning something right away, we can actually get rid of this entirely. And so this looks a little weird, but this is a function, this is the parameter, and this is going to return whatever is currently here. And so when I refresh my page, it still works. And then for multiple parameters, again, we could just put place in here. Hello, I'm gonna not say anything nice, I'm just gonna put place, make that a tad smaller. So function, greet has a name parameter, a place parameter. It's gonna say, hello, whatever the name is, whatever the place is. And Henry is in Canada. And so, hello, Henry, Canada. And so that is, for the most part, all there really is to an arrow function. And this is really the same as saying, function greet has name and a place, return. We'll write this the old way, hello, name, place. So this is the older way of writing a function with the old way of concatenating strings. And this is the new way of doing it. You're going to see both of these methods all over the place, all over the world. So it's good to be familiar with both of them. But that is really all there is to know about the arrow function. That and this.name is equal to name. And then you could do console.log this.name if you wanted to. That does not exist in here. There's just no this keyword. It's just not bound. Now let's take a look at how this is going to work in maybe a for each loop. So let's comment this out. I gotta really change that. Let's comment this out and let's get a list of things in here. So let's create an array. Let's create a const arr is equal to JavaScript, Python, PHP. And then in VS Code, I'm just going to type for each, hit tab. And it's going to say, what's your first array? What's my array is ARR, that's this array here. And then for each element, this is a fat arrow. This is a fat arrow function. So we're saying this element here, whatever this is going to be, we can now work with it. So let's change this from element to language because it's going to be JavaScript, Python, or PHP. And let's do console.log language and refresh our page. JavaScript, Python, PHP. So there we go, we're starting to actually replace the regular function with a fat arrow function. If you don't need the this keyword, you might as well just use the fat arrow function. It's technically less code and also less burden on your computer. Let's go ahead and create a set timeout using an arrow function. So set timeout, this is how we were writing it before. And we're gonna say, wait 1 second. Well, we don't need to do that. Now, because there are no parameters in here, what do? We can't just do this. Instead, we pass it an empty set of parameters. And then we say console.log, yay, I waited. JavaScript, Python, PHP, and then yay, I waited. Let's make that a little more dramatic in here. And let's spam the console. Just wait for it. Bam, there it is. Yay, I waited over and over and over again. And these are your fat arrow functions. Okay, so I would suggest giving this a shot. You're going to be writing a fair amount of arrow functions in the future if you're going to be a JavaScript developer, and so you might as well get used to it now. The nice thing is, it is actually very easy to get used to it. One line instead of multiple lines is always very nice. And as always, don't forget, I'm here if you have questions. Leave your questions, comments, or concerns down below, and I will be happy to help.